stays there. And so, in a world where what happens in the sex organ area of your life stays there, it doesn't matter the pretext, doesn't matter the emotional effects, which is part of sexual promiscuity and prostitution and rape and robbery. Then let's say, oops, there's a lot of evil around here right now. Let's say what happens down there produces a child. Shouldn't you think about what's going down there? Ooh, this is fun. Ooh, she's sucking my dick. Ooh, she's putting in her pussy. Ooh. At what point are you thinking about your child, whose life is beginning with whatever's happening down there that stays down there? Now her friend has come, and she's gonna start sitting on my dick. I'm gonna get her pregnant too, and we'll raise our children together. Yeah, and I don't put any thought in that. It's like we just got drunk and thought about it one night, right? The father of 2 children with 2 wives. This is perfect. My bitches. Deposit number 1. And deposit number 2. God. Job well done. And so when your children grow up and they think about where they came from, and someone explains to them that your dad just had a 3-way, and it was awesome, and one day you can do that too. And that's where you come from. And what really springs from that? What good comes from that? Is that where love comes from? And what if one or more people involved weren't really prepared to do that night? You know, she invited her friend and said, "Oh, come on, we'll just hang out." And then just like when she was there, it's like, "Come on, take off your clothes. Come on, do this." And got her a bit drunk and just invited mom number 2 to become the mother of some dude's dick. And you're not supposed to have any difficult feelings about that because after all, you chose to do it. And when it comes to sex, what happens down there stays down there. It's just sex. We're just being animals, and that's the beginning of everything. Hell, Adam and Eve were brother and sister. You know, the whole world comes from that. It's like a crime we can't deal with, we can't make it better, but we can sacrifice ourselves on the cross of the physical and sexual promiscuous prostitution ring of the world. We can become socialized, sexualized, and capitalized, and we can make the best of it. Why is that wrong? I mean, it's part of life, isn't it? I mean, people fuck people. Where else are children going to come from, you know? You got to get people to do it at some point. It's like war. You got to get people to kill people. Otherwise, how are you going to keep it all going? You got to get people to fuck each other. My dad said to me. My psychiatrist said to me. And at some point, in the same room at the same time, you know, you might be a schizophrenic. You might never amount to anything, but you should go fuck someone. You should get into debt. You should get a job. You should take my medication. It didn't matter in a dozen different visits to that mental health clinic or other doctors besides. It didn't matter anything that had happened between my mother and father, or alcoholism, or violence, or sexual abuse in my history, anything, none of it mattered. It all stayed there. Don't deal with that. Fuck someone, work, take medication, you know, get going. Go launch yourself into something, or into someone, or both. They even call it failure to launch if you don't get a job and fuck somebody. Start your own family, right? That's a good drink, actually. I'm so glad no one else comes out here. I should get going now, but I'm going to do at least one loop of the island here. Let's get some water and move on. Yeah, it is kind of menacing talk. It's serious stuff. To me, it fits within an education, within an interest in learning, or if learning at this level would be listening to what we think when we have the time to think for ourselves. And just like I might not know what someone else thinks because I don't have their education, or I don't talk that way, or I haven't lived the way they have, followed the principles, someone may not know what I'm saying because they don't have the kind of time to talk the way I do. They don't have the time to use their voice, or they haven't learned to speak this way. If anything, I'm curbing their interest in spending too much time talking to themselves, because they'll turn into me. The last thing you want to be is someone who, when he gives you their true opinion, nobody comprehends. When people think they're insane, they think, they're going to mutter things that no one understands. But yet, what if people need to say things that no one can understand? You can't bind yourself to the comprehension of other people. I don't understand most things about humans, and yet I have to put up with it. And all of a sudden, if I make a YouTube and no one understands it, it's like it's such an offensive thing. I don't understand most of you. I don't understand why people work themselves to death, or think that cancer is solved with chemotherapy, or the worst problem in the world is that the climate might be changing for any number of millions of reasons, just like it has forever. It's only in the 21st century we have the ability to scare the shit out of people about something that may not even be happening, except that it's happening in your mind, which is the best place for things to happen, because that's the easiest way to control what's happening, is when it's only happening in your mind, right? Oh God, Gus, we actually have people on the moon, and we've got to bring them back. But we've achieved such an incredible illusion. To bring them back now, let's leave them there, all right? We'll just tell people they built a moon base, and they live longer in 6G gravity, and they'll send pictures every now and then that we'll concoct in our various laboratories. 2001. This is Neil Armstrong. I'm still on my moon habitat. I'm enjoying it. Me and Buzz have struck up a new relationship by using a different orifice to give each other the meat injection. All is well. We'll talk to you in about 10 years. These communications are becoming more and more unnecessary because we've become more lunar beings, and we don't really feel like talking to you anymore. Goodbye. Ugh. So you heard me say to my mom, like, I saw the police hunting someone today. Oh, they probably have to. It's what they said. Mom, just because someone have to do something, when people commit violence, they always have to do it. It doesn't make it right. Oh, but they have to do it, Landon. You have to understand that's what they have to do. When somebody calls, they have to... Okay. And it's just to listen to my mom, to listen to this sort of metallic, smooth sphere of an idea. They have to. And I seize on those words and say, Mom, just because someone has to do something doesn't make it right. People have to do all kinds of things. That doesn't make them right. Right? When someone came to my mother's door and attacked it and vandalized it and got bodily fluids on her in the door, I had to open the door and go yell at them and tell them to fuck off. Right? And since I was up at 2 a.m, I decided to walk around the building because we'd had thieves, and it seemed like the time of night to expect such a thing. And sure enough, I found the thieves down by the front door, and they made themselves scarce. And then the same little fucking 14-year-old culprit came to that door. I eventually let him in and wanted to discover what fucking apartment was selling him drugs or selling him alcohol or locking him out of the building. In any case, long story short, in doing what I had to do, apparently I wasn't supposed to do that. I wasn't supposed to protect a building from someone who would vandalize 2 exits in a building filled with old sick people, attack old people, and get bodily fluids on them while under the effects of alcohol and meth. I wasn't supposed to do anything about that. I wasn't supposed to do what I had to do, right? Right? But apparently the police, when they do things they have to do, it is what you really have to do. Right? I should just let this man attack my elderly mother at 2 a.m. when she's in her bed. I should just let her do that and wait for the police to get there 15 fucking minutes later after she's got black eyes and fucking gonorrhea or something. You know what I mean? I should let them fucking accost some other old person or some unlucky bastard who gets in this fucking idiot's way. Right? And by the way, that idiot left the building 2 months later because I did what I had to do. Right? And if I hadn't done what I had to do, we would have all been in fucking danger. Because you find out what people are capable of. And if they're dangerous, you don't want them around. Right? Some people are dangerous. Because when they're doing what they have to do, you know, it's not good for other people. Oh. Yeah, I get a little amped up about things. The point is, I've seen, there was a man who sexually harassed a woman on the boardwalk. In fact, I've come across 2 older men who have been prone to sexually harassing women down by the beach. And I dealt with it. Whether it took 1 day or 1 hour or 2 hours or 2 months, I will eventually find a way to just make sure they know on notice that that's not behavior that I personally accept to people I know, and maybe not to anyone I know at all. Otherwise, they would never learn. I mean, they're not going to learn anyway, let's be facing it. It's like because people who are violent never learn. That's a problem. It's a learning disability. And then you look at how many white people can't learn anything, whether you think they're particularly violent or not. You have to be able to learn new things. Right? If society is going to grow, if there's anything worth growing about society, we have to all be able to learn in our own way, at our own pace, according to our own language, our own earth, our own family, our own heart, our own religion. Everything should be our own. We should possess everything that we need to possess. Everything about us, who we are, what we want to do, what we want to think, how we want to spend our time. We can do that. We can do that. We should be able to do that all over the world. But nobody does. It's a big fat zero. Nobody ever really gets to do that. And that's the part of all the problems. Right? And if you can't do that, how can you ever learn? If you don't learn to do that, what's the point of learning anything? Right? It's another restatement of the problem of cybernetic industrial conditioning. Because you give more than you get. But you lose the ability to sustain any critical interest in making the appropriate discriminating judgments about what's really happened and what it really costs. You become enthralled by everything you can give and sacrifice, and what you're taught to believe is what is an adequate payment for what you're giving and sacrificing, much as you don't know much about either, except what you're supposed to. That's cybernetics, right? It's a language that is put into you and lifts you away from the ground of your judgment. Humpty Dumpty falls off the wall, and nobody's ever going to put you back together again. It's the cosmic break, the cosmic rift in the mind, the crack in the cosmic egg, written by Joseph Tilton Pierce. He doesn't talk about it this way. The Primal Scream isn't written this way, Dr. Arthur Janoff, but this is all part of the same subject. Chili con carne. So we brought this chili con carne to this Christian camp, and we were a different economic status. And Craig Seifert, who was the white economically advantaged alpha male of the group, started saying chili con carne and making jokes about chili con carne, and anyone had to sleep with Landon and his brother because they had brought chili con carne to eat camping. And I was humiliated by this. Right? It didn't make me like them. This and many other things maybe, but it was considered perfectly social behavior. Right? Just making fun, just having fun. Maybe it was trying to include us in the group, making fun of the food that we brought, and referring to bodily movements that it would induce. Right? I love beans. I've eaten beans my whole life. Our family, at our economic level, ate a lot of Heinz beans. We ate beans all the time. Beans, cheese, bread. Right? Made it to this circle. Isn't that beautiful? And so this joke was, to me, like racism. You know? I wasn't part of the joke. My brother and I weren't part of the joke. It was humiliating. Did this young man mean anything by it? It's just people of different economic systems. And the people that were supposed to care for us, the older white men, the Christians, they didn't say anything. Right? His dad sold my dad this useless pacer that they're probably finding just so it would help him out because he was a little low. He actually convinced my dad that he needed the money. Right? He would meet my dad for coffee as another Christian, but their family was rich. Craig always had what he needed. When rich people say that they're low on money, they mean that their interests are not improving as quickly as they usually do. That's called losing money among rich people. Okay, so just understand that it's kind of a witchcraft vernacular. When a rich person or a corporation is losing money, they're not making as much more money every year as they should be. Right? Off of people like you. And so, yes, you should buy more of their products so they can keep their head afloat, because their water line is not paying their bills. It's making more and more off of stupid schmucks like you every day. Otherwise, it's like they're going to die. Right? So that's how rich people think. That's how they stay rich, right? Their threshold of economic survival is way above yours if you're just getting by. And so from the beans being a source of ridicule, if in a good-natured Christian way, to selling my dad a pacer, the worst fucking car in the world, because, in turn, Stan, Craig's dad, would be benefited by this. It would really help his bottom line because, things were a little slim, Right? I don't think Craig's family or his dad's survival was critically based on this particular decision of my father's, so much as our lives were critically based on many decisions in a way that we stood to suffer a lot more than Craig would suffer from his dad not being able to sell my dad a useless fucking pacer, right? It was totally